Hey, everybody, and welcome back to For the Booze.
Welcome back, Booze Cruise, for another installment of Spooky. And this time, we didn't even have to leave home to do it.
Well, I know. Well, we had to leave the house.
But I meant like our area. I meant like our town.
I know. I'm super excited for this one. Super duper excited.
Well, this was the episode that was supposed to come out like a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
But it didn't.
Yes.
Because we got coronavirus instead.
Yes.
So awesome. Great. Good times.
All of that. But I do, before we start, have something to say.
Oh.
I want to brag on my hubby a little bit.
Today,
the other day, he said, I think I want to make spaghetti from scratch.
This would be like at least a week ago.
So we bought all the things, and tonight I had off, and he handmade pasta and from scratch made sauce, and it was probably the best Italian dish I've ever eaten.
It was really good.
Ever. It was so good.
I am paying the price right now.
So good. We are so very full.
So full. So full.
But I just wanted everybody to know that it was amazing.
Well, thanks.
And that he did that.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
We're going to do it again. I'm going to get the noodles better.
Yeah, it was so good.
The thick old noodles. Oh, that probably sounds dirty.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's very fitting that we're nice and full for this because the place we're talking about is a restaurant.
It is.
And it's actually the local restaurant around here, and it is noted as being the most haunted restaurant in all of Florida.
Yes.
I mean, that's a pretty big claim. What are we doing today?
Today, we're doing Ashley's Restaurant.
That's right. Ashley's Restaurant. And it was not just with the fact that it was good food, but I had a great time there.
We did. We went for our anniversary date.
Finally. 2 weeks late. 2 weeks late.
But we had picked this restaurant to go to because it's local to us. We've never been. And it's always been local lore and legend around here that it was haunted. And the story that I had heard growing up here did not match the things that we have found.
Nope, not even close.
So, yeah, that was very interesting.
So we'll tell the local legends probably at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very cool atmosphere. It's like set in an old house that it really was a train station at one time.
Yes.
It's just the rest of the story I'm not sure about. But it's set in this old 2-story house that has a second floor, and everything's cut out in the middle, so no matter where you are, if you're up on the second floor, you can see down to the bar. I don't know, it's really neat.
Super neat. It was super cool place.
Stained glass windows and, like old news articles of the place. It's been around forever. I think it's one of the oldest places around here. And yeah, it was just cool. And we got to talk to all the servers.
Yes, we had people coming up. And
I feel so bad I can't remember the first girl's name, but she said that there are paranormal things here. But then we talked to another girl named Alicia.
Yes.
Upstairs, and she went on, she talked to us for a while.
Yes, she did.
And she told us a bunch of stories about, basically everybody there says that, yes, this place is haunted and people do have experiences there.
Yeah, their bartender, who's been there for a really, really long time, was involved in each of the stories that she told us. And it was super crazy, super cool.
Pretty awesome.
So thank you to the staff at Ashley's for indulging us with ghostly stories.
We had a great time.
It was super great. So much fun.
And I'd love to go back there and podcast from there because they do that dinner with a ghost event on Mondays. Some Mondays.
Monday nights, a guy named Steve comes in and...
well, of course a guy named Steve would be there.
He brings, I guess, all of his equipment. I think he just kind of chit-chats and doesn't really do anything with the equipment, but just kind of explains to people what they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would love to go and meet and maybe do an actual podcast from there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yes.
But we're going to, again, unfortunately, no listener stories.
Boo.
Kind of a bummer.
I know. It makes me sad.
Makes me sad, too. So, Booze Crew, I know people listen for the booze. 12@gmail.com. Please send them in, please. We need them. We just don't have any. Even
though we don't have any spooky listener stories, I think we have a great episode for you. And I am super excited.
This is for the booze. They're all great episodes.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, we hope.
We do our best. So, without further ado, I guess we could just go ahead and jump right into this one. And as always, we'll go ahead and start with the history portion of our show. This episode is brought to you by onlyinurstate.com, the great and powerful Wikipedia.com, mylibraryworld-michaelb.blogspot.com, and hauntedhouses.com. Rockledge was officially founded on August 7th, 1887, making it the oldest incorporated municipality in Brevard County. The name Rockledge, attributed to Gardner S. Hardy, an early settler, comes from the many ledges of coquina rock that line the Indian River. Other sources refer to a man named Cephas Bailey Magruder, who built his home after settling in the area in 1876 near the Indian River. Magruder called his home, quote, the Rockledge home, unquote, and the name was eventually attributed to the whole town. It was originally referred to as a rock ledge. The two-word name persisted through the 19th century. Early industry in the area was based on the citrus trade and accommodation for tourists traveling to South Florida via the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway of the Indian River. President Grover Cleveland and his wife actually visited the city in 1888. The town had several large hotels in the late 19th century to early 20th century that catered to northern tourists escaping cold winters. These included the Hotel Indian River, the Plaza, and the Rockledge Hotel, all located north of Barton Ave, looking out over the river.
For the snowbirds.
Towards the early part of the 20th century, Rockledge was known as a resort town. In the winter months, the population would rise from 200 to almost 2,000 people. Up until about 1911, access to Rockledge was via boat and rail. Steamboats in the Indian River connected with Henry Flagler's trains to bring people to the north. Small boats, sailboats, and small launches frequently stopped to unload freight and passengers. Most of the tourists in this time were wealthy and would use the boats to connect to the rail system at the time. After World War I, the automobile allowed the average person to travel to an area and their encampments dotted in the area. The Dixie Highway was completed in 1915 and spanned most of Florida, and in the 1920s, US 1 was paved and replaced the Dixie Highway. In 1939 to 1940, a winter visitor donated the money to construct a hospital. The mayor convinced the council to donate the land from the former golf course that had belonged to the defunct Indian River Hotel for the hospital. Rockledge underwent an expansion further west and south in the 1960s when it became a bedroom community for the nearby Kennedy Space Center. Several hundred families from all over the United States settled in the city with the advent of the Apollo missions and the Space Shuttle program. Development stretched north to south from the late 1950s to the 1990s. Virginia Park, Marion Manor, Fairway Estates, Rockledge Country Club Estates, Gulfview Estates, Kings Grant, Georgetown, Leavitt Park, and Woodsmere had all been established by the 1960s to the 1980s. But today, we take a step back in history to a place in Rockledge where the history and lore are as exciting as the rumors of paranormal activity, as we venture through time to visit Ashley's Restaurant in Rockledge, Florida. A lot of people love Ashley's of Rockledge for its classic pub fare and good service, but some people visit Ashley's for an entirely different reason. As of today, it is rumored to be the most haunted restaurant in all of Florida. The land upon which Ashley's was built is said to be the site of an old railroad depot that burned to the ground. And according to Ashley's of Rockledge history page, this handsome Tudor-style building was constructed probably sometime after around 1932, repeal of Prohibition by entrepreneur Jack Allen. The history of Ashley's of Rockledge goes all the way back to the early 1930s when it was called Jack's Tavern. And Jack's Tavern was a classy place where men wore coattails and a top hat, and the women wore their best dresses. Built in a prime location just off a main highway and near the railroad, the Tudor-style building, decorated with dark wood and stained glass, gives Ashley the feel of an old-style English pub. Ashley's had several owners and names over the years. Memorable ones including Cooney's Tavern, the Mad Duchess, the Loose Caboose, Sparrowhawk, and even Gentleman Jim's. The main resident spirit is tied to a gruesome story that has in fact been verified by a local newspaper reporting from that time. A young woman named Ethel Allen, perhaps related to Jack Allen, was last seen at Jack's Tavern before her body was found on the shores of the Indian River, mutilated and burned. Since violent crime is still somewhat unusual in Brevard County, we can only imagine just how shocking a brutal murder would have been to the community in 1934. Unfortunately, this is precisely what happened when the badly mutilated and burned body of 19-year-old Cocoa resident Ethel Allen was found on the shores of the Indian River between Rockledge and O'Galley on Wednesday, November 21st, 1934. The story of Ethel Allen continues to fascinate locals and has been kept alive in part due to the claim that her ghost haunts Ashley's restaurant in Rockledge to this day. The facts are that on the 21st, a man driving north along the river noticed buzzards circling overhead and landing on the ground. And when he went to investigate the source, he discovered a badly decomposed and mutilated body.
Oh my God.
The identity was established later that day by Mrs. Gerald Finney of Cocoa, with whom the girl had boarded with. Identification was made by a tattoo on her right thigh and by a ring that the girl wore. When the body was found of Miss Allen, it bore marks of extreme violence. This is where I'm going to let people know that if you don't want to hear about extreme death, this is your chance to skip ahead a little bit. Her throat had been slit. Wounds were found in the forehead and base of her skull. The right side of her face had been crushed, and the upper teeth and part of the jawbone were completely missing. One leg was mutilated so bad that it was almost severed completely from the body, and the murderer had attempted to dispose of the body by burning it and throwing it into the river. The investigation that ensued determined that Ethel had last been seen on Sunday when she stopped by a local packing house to say goodbye to a friend.
Goodbye.
Saying that she was going to Wauchula, Florida to visit her mother and that her friend Bill was going to take her. Before that, she had been at the City Point Inn with a man named William Billy Wilson, who she had introduced to several of her friends.
Hello there.
On the day that Ethel's body was found, Mr. Wilson backed his car up to his rented house on Barton Avenue in Rockledge, loaded his things into it, and left the area. Although locals remembered that his car had Pennsylvania tags, Brevard Sheriff at the time, Roy Roberts, was notified that 300 people with the same name has taken license for automobiles in Pennsylvania, and the number on the tag was not noticed by any person in the vicinity. Radio broadcasts were made and a reward was offered for his apprehension, but he was never seen again. Ethel was laid to rest in the Georgiana Cemetery in Merritt Island, and since Mr. Wilson was the only suspect in the case went cold and was never solved. Because the Ashleys of Rockledge building is located so close to the train tracks and the main highway, it is theorized that a boy and a girl could have died from auto accidents or falling onto the tracks and run over by a train. One story tells the tale of a man being dragged down the stairs of Ashley's in the 1940s to the police car by officers. while the man's autistic daughter watched and cried. It is said that she ran out into the road in her distress and was killed by an oncoming vehicle. It is also stated that the restaurant was built on top of a former train station that caught fire years ago. The train tracks next to the restaurant killed a young woman who was hit by an oncoming train. Some have claimed that the site may even have been a former Native American burial ground, and there's even a local legend of Ashley's being a train station and the train crashing into the building, killing most of its occupants. But most of these accounts are just stories, with nothing substantial to back them up. So, from the 1940s to present day, it seems that the restaurant stayed kind of quiet other than its ghostly residents. It's hard to find any documented deaths or historical facts outside of the death of Ethel. However, there is an article from August 20th, 2021, about a very well-loved waitress that worked at Ashley's who passed away after her battle with cancer. From an article I found in FloridaToday.com. Ask the staff at Ashley's of Rockledge about Christy Taylor, and they may chuckle, maybe tell a story about a warm, caring person who mothered the younger workers and coddled her older customers. They might point to Christy's big book of names, phone numbers, and favorite dishes, and they'll tear up, maybe turn away to avoid showing such raw emotion. The loss of Christy, a woman who in 15 years became so much more than a server. Christy Taylor, 61, died early that Thursday morning. She had undergone her first treatment for breast cancer about 3 weeks ago and worked her last shift at Ashley's 2 weeks prior. And to those who knew her, her death serves a stark reminder that in this time of international upheaval, not all tragedies are pandemic related. People still die in accidents, of heartaches, and from breast cancer. While there are a lot of stories, a lot of tales and lore that surround Ashley's, it's hard to say what's real and what isn't. While we do have documented reports of deaths in the area, and even on the spot where the land is, who knows how much is really there? However, with the amount of recorded activity and personal stories, it's no doubt that Ashley's has some guests with a permanent reservation. So if you're ever in Florida, specifically in the Brevard area, and want to visit what is known to be the most haunted restaurant in all of Florida, then make your way up US 1 along the Indian River to the spot that is the final resting place for so many.
That was an amazing story.
That was probably one of my favorite ones to write.
That was so good. It was very strange to hear areas, towns, and roads that I have known for a very, very long time. But that was really good.
Well, it's funny because even in the beginning, Magruder, I know where Magruder Street is.
Mm-hmm.
I know where US 1 is.
We travel those US 1 all the time.
I mean, I quit my job. But when I used to work at my job, I traveled up US 1 every day.
Yeah.
Every day of my life. So this is our area. I mean, this is where we live.
Yep.
And before you moved back here and before I moved here, I'd never heard the tale of this Ethel Allen before. And it was kind of unsettling to hear about something like that going unsolved.
Yeah.
To this day, like they still have no idea. Well,
speaking of her, can I just say that Bill, super suspicious, okay?
Oh, that bastard did it.
What?
He did it.
Excuse me, sir.
He did it.
Wow.
When I wrote that, I mean, they pretty much knew he did it. The problem was locating him.
Right.
Because
he just took off.
Well, because of the amount of people in Pennsylvania with his name who had registered license plates. So it was like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
And we're talking about during a time where there's nothing like we have today. So it's next to impossible to find him unless somebody sees him or sells him out or whatever. So it is shocking that it went unsolved for this long, but I can understand why. I'm sure a lot of murders and stuff did back then. But what he did, my question is, Could Bill have been a serial killer and done this to other people? Because that's not a warm up crime. That's not a
brutal.
day one. Yeah, that's a seasoned veteran or somebody who would do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just insane. But
so Bill, suspicious.
Bill's a dick
for sure.
But that's the history of Ashley's of Rockledge, and there wasn't really a lot. I mean, I did find enough to write that. But outside of Ethel Allen, every other claim is either a story, a word of mouth. There's just nothing that I could find factual to back any of it up.
Yeah.
And there's the biggest folk tale of all time around here about the place. And that was that it was once a train station.
Yep.
And a train derailed and crashed into it and killed everybody.
That's what I have heard. I mean, I've lived here since I was 9, and that's always been the thing that everyone says.
I did the best of my abilities to search to see if there was any story about that, and I could find nothing. I did find a story about it catching on fire and people dying in there, but nothing about a train crashing.
Yeah, and even the girl, Alicia, we talked to, she said that was what she had always heard.
That's what a lot of people
You know, before she started working there, and she did know quite a bit more.
Well, long before we did this episode, I had talked to my old boss about this place, and he's the one who told me about the train going off the track and killing everybody in the building.
And he's been here for a long time.
He's lived here his whole life. Yeah. So I automatically assumed that this was fact.
Yeah.
And I could find nothing about it.
That's literally what everyone that lives here says.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. Maybe it did and I just can't find anything. Right. But I really searched hard and I found other stuff happening, but I could find nothing of that.
Well, either way, that was a fabulous story. That was super good.
Appreciate that. So now I'm going to assume it is time to hear some spooky tales about Ashley's of Rockledge.
You did the history. Now I do the mystery.
And now, time for an ad break.
And now, back to our show. So special thanks this week to hauntedhouses.com, earthwriter.com, and hometownnewsbrevard.com. With so many changes in owners, some of the drama that happened here has been lost. There are stories, but not many facts are known for sure. Just that the entities that stay or visit here are just here. The paranormal activity experienced in this structure suggests why they may reside here voluntarily and involuntarily. Spirits who were victims of brutal murders sometimes can't get past the gruesome end to their life. Sometimes they try to enjoy this world as best as they can as a spirit, wanting the truth to be known and seeking justice for the tragedy that ended their existence. Over the years, many have experienced activity in the restaurant. Many patrons have felt an unseen hand touch them on their shoulders and back. Staff who closed the restaurant have heard whispers. The lights seem to have a mind of their own, and TVs randomly turn off and on, all by themselves. Some believe it's the spirit of an older man. Ashley's seems to have a spectral employee who is not on the payroll. A paranormal investigator, while on an investigation, caught an apparition of an older man standing inside the bar area with a towel draped over his arm. A second investigator captured a picture of this very entity standing on the employee's staircase. It is thought that this apparition is the spirit who moves the chairs, objects, and straightens the pictures on the walls, still trying to be helpful. There is even a recorded EVP of a man's voice saying, "Peekaboo," when two investigators were having a meal at one of the tables. It is thought that the spectral older man was trying to joke around with the two men. Some have claimed to have been in the presence of child spirits. The spirit of a particular little girl likes to tug at the clothes of people while they were going up and down the stairs, trying to seek the attention of others. She has also been seen on the second floor. It is also said the spirit of a 4-year-old boy has made himself known in numerous different ways. Then there's the spirit of Ethel Allen, who was always a front and center presence in the building and likes to get some laughs as a way to let the living know that she still remains. She is described as being playful at times. She likes to tease the staff in the ladies' room. One staff member was in one of the bathroom stalls when she noticed the shoes of a woman in the stall next to her. The shoes and stockings she saw resembled the style they wore in the 1930s. A boot-like shape with buttons and high heels. When the staff member opened her stall door and stepped out, the stall next to her was suddenly empty.
What?
One staff member was trying to leave the bathroom, but a seemingly strong force was pushing the exit door closed, so the staff member couldn't get out. Finally, the door just popped open. Sometimes a faint reflection of who is believed to be Ethel can be seen in the bathroom mirror, and a picture was even taken of her floating down the stairs one evening. Ethel often tries to show others how her murder happened, as she wants the truth to be known. At times, people have heard a terrifying, blood-curdling scream, and this alarming scream is heard in the middle of the night, coming from inside the building, as reported by police officers that have a station directly across the street. Some men and women have felt a light choking sensation around their necks, either as they travel down the hallway that leads to the bathroom, on the stairs, and sometimes even going up to the second floor tables. There have been reports of a foul-tempered male spirit who still seems to have temper issues even after his death. He throws things around the kitchen, breaks glasses, and is responsible for the poltergeist-type activity that happens all throughout the building. It is also believed by many people that he is most likely Ethel's killer. He may be grounded here where he took her life, or is worried about being found out, as she is continually trying to spill the beans about her murder, which seems to infuriate him. On the second staircase, used mostly by staff, scarier incidents have been reported. Waitresses have been shoved and choked from behind, almost causing them to fall face first down the stairs. A continuing sense of doom is often felt by anyone on the staircase, in the storage area, and in some of the corridors. This unruly male spirit, who was never paid for his crime of passion, was photographed as he was walking through the front door. His unseen presence cannot be missed, as he always radiates a negative essence. Seething with anger and hostility, he still tries to exert his power by trying to terrorize the living, but it seems that he has finally lost his control over Ethel. An abundance of both personal experiences and hard evidence points to the existence of spirits who reside or visit this restaurant. Sunday mornings are said to be the eeriest. It's pitch black out when Rick Austin opens Ashley's restaurant for the day. He is all alone, so what accounts for the spirits' sounds that echo throughout the building? Why has he heard the sounds of someone knocking on the doors of bathroom stalls? the random doors that seemingly slam on their own, and why the lights in the kitchen flickered on and off. Quote, "Sometimes you feel like someone's behind you. I will turn to see if someone is there.
Who are you?
I look over my shoulder, but nothing is there. You see a reflection, but it's actually yourself." End quote, Austin said. His experience, however, is not unique. It is believed that the murder of 19-year-old Ethel Allen is the main source of ghostly activity at the restaurant. She died in 1934, and her killer was never brought to justice. Greg Parker said he was unaware of the ghostly legends surrounding the restaurant when he bought it in November of 1985. Its reputation has attracted ghost hunters, psychics, paranormal investigators, and even a television crew, hoping to include its story in a pilot called Haunted America. Their encounters were picked up by Fate magazine, but the show never materialized. They saw, quote, "what looked like a head-shaped spot of darkness," which on the thermography means a cold spot, that quickly vanished, end quote. Then one of the three-man team, R. Andrew Nichols from Florida Center for Paranormal Studies, yelled from the ladies' room, quote, "Do you see that?" End quote. What they saw on their monitors was what looked like a cylindrical object floating in midair. It was not solid, but fairly well defined. Parker has heard all the stories. He said his wife, employees, and customers alike have experienced some of them. He stated, quote, "My wife was walking downstairs once. She said she felt someone touching her on the shoulder. Others have reported a distinct feeling that they were pushed by an invisible force." End quote. Going up and down the stairs closest to the ladies' room still seems to be the most dangerous. Ghostly encounters have rattled a few customers and employees. Parker said, quote, "One night, Lisa, a waitress, was outside crying. She said she saw a ghost and never came back." End quote. Someone going by the building said they saw a couple fighting in the apartment that was upstairs at the time.
Oh my God, would you leave me alone?
On the restaurant's website, it states that, quote, "One manager has seen the feet of a woman dressed in 1930s era footwear in the next stall in the ladies' room, only to exit her own stall and find the other one is empty." End quote. Mr. Parker also said, quote, "Patrons have reported apparitions of a young woman in the bathroom. A psychic said that's where the women ran down the stairs and hid. He found her and killed her. That's why the ladies' room is haunted, and the spirit stays there." End quote. Ethel Allen is not the only ghost on the premises, Parker said, as a man and a little girl have also been spotted there. Liz Burton, a bartender and waitress at Ashley's, recalls a little girl about 4 or 5 who was quite agitated as she described an encounter she had to her grandfather. Quote, "Pop Pop, tell that little girl to quit messing with me." End quote. The girl said of the ghost girl, quote, "No one had told her about a ghost." End quote, Burton said. On June 21st, 2018, an article from HometownNewsBrevard.com reads, "Murder victims are what we call trapped spirits. They are trying to move on from something traumatic. A spirit can absolutely appear in any age form," said Morgana Starr, a local medium. "It's likely that a younger girl, seen by many of the patrons and employees of Ashley's, could be the younger form of Ethel Allen. Her murder may have been so traumatizing that she reverted back in age. Miss Starr, along with Deanna Deva, co-own Angel's Oasis in Cocoa Village. Miss Starr is also a part of the Florida Paranormal Research Foundation. Quote, "There is a portal there. I think Ethel Allen created one as a result of her haunting, but I don't necessarily think she's there anymore. Her murder allowed the portal of energy to activate, becoming a proverbial welcome sign that spirits can see. Some are attached to a human guest and decide to stay for various reasons," end quote, Miss Starr said. As the investigation progressed, it was determined that Miss Allen was last seen the previous Sunday, November 18th, when she told a friend she was leaving for Wauchula to visit her mother, and that her friend William, Billy Wilson, was going to escort her. Never having been located, he remains the primary suspect in the case that has since gone unsolved for almost 85 years. Bonnie Randall, owner and manager of Ashley's restaurant, recounts one of her experiences. Miss Randall recalls, quote, "I had a woman come in before we were even open, and I sat her in the booth just around the corner to the left. I got her something to drink, and she told me it was her first time here, and I asked her if she realized it was haunted. The guest did not realize Ashley had a reputation for being haunted. She said, 'Now that you say that, I thought I saw a young girl sitting over there,' and she pointed to the booth caddy corner to her. She didn't know it was Ethel Allen, but even repeating it gives me goosebumps," end quote. Miss Randall also recounts instances of things falling, such as glasses, plates, or decorations, and admitted that she has difficulty in discerning which are caused naturally and which have no explanation at all. One of Ashley's patrons, Peyton Thompson, believes there is a spirit within the walls of Ashley's. She just doesn't know what or who it might be. Miss Thompson said, quote, "When I walk up the stairs, I always feel something. I think there is a ghost or something. I don't really like going there anymore because it freaks me out," end quote. A ghost hunter named Chad Talley of Space Coast Paranormal Society had the experience of having the spirit of Ethel follow him around, and actually had moved in with Chad and his wife. Ethel tried to scare his wife until Chad told her to stop. Stop! Ethel left, never to return. He was the first one to discover that Ethel, in spirit form, was still a free spirit who goes wherever she wants to go, now that the living know her story. It seems all the spirits there now may feel accepted, as the owners of Ashley's of Rockledge proudly promote the fact that they have spirits, allowing people in to investigate and sponsoring weekly events like Have Dinner with a Ghost. Ethel now has some peace, knowing that the living know and understand how she was murdered, and is feeling freer to travel all over the restaurant and its warehouse, and even leaving what she knows to visit the living, especially attractive young men. The spectral employee still seems to have his sense of humor and continues to try to help the owners and staff. Even the angry spirit has appeared to him to have calmed down since the cat is out of the bag, and Ethel feels freer, so she isn't always there. whatever may be causing the hauntings in this now Florida restaurant, it is evident that something or someone is making themselves known to some people who walk through the doors of this railroad side building along the well-known highway, US 1.
US 1.
US 1. That was really hard for me to get through.
That's fine. Nobody's going to notice. It was a good story, though. And there's a lot of stuff, because when we went there, I remember you went to the bathroom and you said you looked under the stall.
I did. Growing up, that was a thing you'd hear about that, too, as if you were in the bathroom, which is a very strange-looking bathroom, by the way.
Oh, my God. Don't even get me started.
Oh, man.
The men's room.
They were very, very strange rooms. I don't know. It was just weird.
Well, we took our own pictures for this one.
Yes.
And the men's room was literally like 100-year-old door in the very back of the building behind. It didn't even look like it should be the bathroom. And it was just old and weird. And there was like this mirror up on the wall in this really weird place. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just super strange.
It was very strange.
It was a very uncomfortable feeling bathroom, if I'm being honest.
But that's something that I've always heard, was if you were in the women's bathroom there and you'd see, feet in the stall next to you, but you're the only one in there.
You know what's funny is, because I wrote that, and as much as it talks about the second staircase, which would be the server staircase,
Yep.
we sat right next to it.
Right next to it.
And that's the one where the little girl is seen, where the man is seen.
Yep. And then
That's crazy.
They say that there's a little girl that you can see in the
the
far end window.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was the one we were talking about.
we were literally sitting directly across from the office door where that window was located.
And that's the window that we were talking to that girl Alicia about. And I was like, when I was walking up, I don't know why, but for some reason I just stared up at that window, and I couldn't. I didn't. There was no reason for it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop staring at it.
I know.
So this place gives off the creepy vibes. It does.
The stained glass windows, I think, add to just that old creepy vibe, I guess.
It's that, and it's like a lot of really old wood.
Yeah. Everything in there.
While
is
the
super
paneling
old.
on the walls, I don't believe is real aged wood.
Mm-hmm.
I believe all the banisters and everything else is.
Yeah. There's like skylights and all kinds of stuff. It's just super cool.
It just gives you an super old creepy house vibe when you're in there. So it's cool. And there's like a little articles on the wall about the place being haunted. And I remember on the way to the men's room, there were the thermal pictures that you brought up are on the wall on the way to the men's room. If you would have went just past the ladies' room, there was like a cutout on the left-hand side where there were booths, and right up on the wall in between those booths are where the thermal pictures were.
Wow.
And I got to see them walking by, and they're pretty good.
Wow.
They're pretty good.
I remember we were looking through the menu, and for some reason I just completely closed it. Some menus like have food on the back, so I was like, oh, I'll just close it. It was like the entire story that basically that you just read, like the history of Ashley's. It was super cool.
I was like, oh, that's cool.
I was like, wow, it was right there. It was neat.
But so, yeah, I mean, this place has a lot of cool history. And, yeah, if you're ever in Florida, you should definitely go check it out. It's in Brevard County, right off of beautiful US 1.
Highway US 1 in Rockledge.
I have to snicker at it. At least it's in Rockledge. Rockledge isn't too bad.
Yeah.
But you got to drive through everything else to get there. Good luck.
But we did. We had an amazing time. I'm super glad we went, and I cannot wait to go back because we definitely will. The food, amazing. Service, amazing. So thank you to everybody at Ashley's who asked for the name of our podcast to listen and everything
Hopefully you
else.
listen.
And
Hey.
who came up and told us your stories and who honestly just got us super pumped about going,
Right? Hey,
you know.
guys, and if you did listen, you're from Ashley's, write to us. And if you have stories, send them in. We'll read them on the show. We'd love to.
Oh my goodness, yes, that would be fabulous. I would love that.
At forthebooze12@gmail.com. So we have come to that segment, the point in the show, where there is a question that needs to be asked.
The question?
The question.
Is it real?
Well, Megan's husband. Get it? You get it? You get it?
Yes.
So, I mean, what do you think I mean, this is in your area. You grew up here.
I did.
I didn't quite grow up in this area, but this is you. What you got?
In this area, there isn't a lot of things that are haunted or known to be haunted or anything like that. I mean, there's a few, but this place has always been number one, what you would hear about, what people would talk about. And now knowing what I know, especially the history of it, and going there myself, seeing what it looks like, feeling what it feels like, I absolutely think that this place is haunted. So many stories that people had of just like random people that don't even believe in that kind of stuff having a story, especially like from some of the coworkers and stuff like that. I absolutely believe it's haunted.
Well, there was a story that Alicia told us about the guy. I'm probably gonna mess this up or whatever. I'll get it close enough. He kept staring at this window or the mirror, and nobody really thought anything of it. And then it happened a few times, and then he had brought up about seeing the face in the mirror.
No, it was in the reflection of those windows.
Okay, whatever. It was still
the window
a face.
Panes. Yeah,
Still a face, Megan.
In a booth that was behind them.
That's right. It was the booth.
He could
because that
see
family
the
sat in that booth.
Yeah, we were trying to get a picture of it, and then a family got sat there. But it was these pane glass windows that are like suspended from the ceiling, and he could see behind him a reflection of someone sitting in the booth when they knew literally no one was in there. So, and then a couple times, and then it got super detailed. I mean, I don't know. And she said he was not one of those people that were like, oh, yeah, I believe in ghosts. Right. Like, she said you'd hear him say something like that, and you'd be like, what?
So, hey, if you're listening and you're Alicia from Ashley, write that story and we'd like to read it.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're saying it's haunted, huh?
I am.
100%.
What about you, Stephen? What do you think?
I mean, all I have are the stories. I've been in there once, but I actually am going to agree. I think it is as well. I think there is some real activity there. There are just so many accounts, so many solid accounts. Not only do they have solid accounts, they have the evidence hanging in the restaurant.
Yep.
In the restaurant, and every server that we talk to there, they're not even just like an auto response when you ask them, so is it really haunted? Like, they perk up and they're like, oh, yes. Yep. Yes, stuff happens here. Things happen. I might not have seen it, but this person has seen it. This person has seen it. I've seen it, so... Yeah, I do. I think there's something going on there.
Right.
I mean, as always, I wouldn't really be able to say I know exactly what it is. I think the Ethel Allen thing could probably be pretty... That's a violent death.
Yeah.
That's a violent death.
I think that could probably be a strong contender.
And I've read things that go both ways on the little girl who got killed in the street. I've read things that say it was true. I've read things that say it wasn't, so I'm not sure. So, but I do believe something's happening there. So it seems to me... that I just punched that. It seems to me that on the averages on the do we give this the For the Booze seal of approval for haunted locations, I would say that indeed this week we have 100% approved. Booze Crew, you go to Florida now. You go right now. You stop what you're doing. You go to Florida right now. You go to Rockledge. You visit Ashley's of Rockledge.
I was super excited to do this place even before we went there.
It doesn't
wherever.
matter. Look, we just went. But look,
now that we've gone,
we have to edit and stuff, so clearly this doesn't come out the day after we record it.
Yeah. Now that we have gone, it just made me even more excited to do this episode. Yeah. And I'm just pumped.
I was feeling it. I was definitely feeling it.
Absolutely.
I don't know what was going on, but I went there, so I had it in my brain. I was feeling the music, and the words were just, it was very poetic for me. I had a lot of fun talking about it. I had a lot of fun going there. I'd love to go back, and it is highly suggested by us. Now, there are a few videos on YouTube about this place, full-on investigations, which are pretty good.
Yes.
I can't lie. And while I wasn't able to really find a specific EVP, I mean, I probably could have if I dug through a bunch of stuff, but I didn't. I went to YouTube, and there's a short video, and this is an unexplained knock during a paranormal investigation. Ooh. So we're going to listen to this.
That was a loud knock.
That was right down in the bar area, right beside where we were sitting, but on the first floor.
Wow.
So we'll listen to that.
That was a loud knock.
So that's pretty loud.
That's definitely on solid wood.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to check that same clip out, it's video. There's not much to the video. It's only 10 seconds long. Look up Paranormal 54. This is actually from 4 weeks ago.
Wow, really?
This is recent, yes. So check it out.
Awesome.
There, like I said, there's other videos that I was able to find on this place. It's cool, and everybody who goes here seems to come to the same conclusion that it is indeed haunted, that there is something going on at Ashley's of Rockledge. And now we've, Booze Crew, we've made it to the end. We've come through the wild and crazy, super duper surface of the sun hot history.
Ugh.
And the ghost stories. And where can they reach you, babe?
Well, they can reach us at @forthebooze_podcast on Instagram and For the Booze on Facebook.
Well, you can reach me at Twitter. You can reach us on Twitter at @forthebooze. And as we always say, if you'd like to watch this, your episodes in 10, 15-minute increments at a time, join us over on YouTube at For the Booze. You crazy, crazy SOB you. And don't forget, we still want your listener stories, suggestions, friends. We want to be friends. Hit us up on forthebooze12@gmail.com. And don't forget, the most important part is to follow, subscribe, rate us, give us 5 stars wherever you listen. We're never going to ask you for money. Not yet, anyways. Hint, hint. But the 5 stars really do help. They, help move us up so more people can find us and we can grow. And with that, we want to do things for the listeners. So
yes, absolutely.
Don't forget to like us. 5-star us.
Well, thank you everybody so much for listening this week. And we were excited to do this one and excited to see y'all in the next one.
And we will have a great one on the next one too. I'm excited.
Bye.